Let's go for the actual store. Europa natural.
Greetings, humanity, and welcome to Europa Natural Law, a new roundtable transmission dedicated to healing the madness, badness, and sadness plaguing our beautiful, bountiful world. Through regaining our sanity, reclaiming our inborn sovereignty, and honoring our inherent responsibility, we can improve reality. I'm your host, Nemo Jones, reporting for Beauty, and joining us this week we have Derek Bartolicelli, Marvin from Easing People into Waking Up, Flor Elomari, Theo Lux, Marcus from Rota Lotus, Tommy McGann, and they've all just changed orders, so hopefully I'm not going to go repeating. Yvonne Barrow, and Vuk, and Kris Nelson from evolveconsciousness.org. I think I got everyone there, yeah. Okay, so the subject we're going to tackle this week is why the hell are we talking about natural law in the first place? Why is natural law so important? And we asked this question on the group, on the Telegram group this week, and got some great answers. But before we get into that, let's just let the people who haven't appeared on the show before introduce themselves. So shall we go to Kris? Would you like to give a little introduction of yourself and why you came to be so passionate about natural law?
Hi, sure. My name is Kris Nelson. I was born long ago on a cold, windy day. No, I'm just kidding. So in 2006, I watched a documentary, Terror Storm, shook me awake, shook me to my core, made me care more about what was going on. And that's what propelled me onto the journey to, I called it a knowledge quest at the time. So to learn more, try to figure out what's going on. Realized the world wasn't the way I thought it was. Like they talk about in the Matrix movie, best movie ever made, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, and found Passio in like 2010, 2011 or something. And then learned more, and then eventually kicked myself in the ass with his motivational vitriol. Created a site at the end of 2013 and been creating content ever since. Kind of took a break, started a family, got a career because I was poor before that, and so life's back in order. And now I'm doing a series called Natural Law, the Science of Morality, up to 4 parts so far, probably like 4 more to come. Very in-depth explanation, going deep, and yeah, that's it for me. I'm also part of the One Great Work Network.
Great, thank you. Just to check that, what was the name of the film? You said Terror Storm, was it called?
Yeah, by Alex Jones.
Okay, cool. Right, I don't know that one. Okay, so obviously there's actually we did have someone else that was going to join you, but they couldn't for technical reasons. So we can get straight on into the chat. So I'm just going to give my very brief little introduction of why that I put on the Telegram chat of why I think natural law is so important. And it's this: because a widespread understanding of natural law is the sole path to freedom and the end of man-made suffering. So that's my view, that it's basically the only way out of the madness, sadness, and sadness that we are all suffering through. So I'll hand it over to whoever wants to jump in.
Well, I can start since no one wanted to jump in. I answered the question in the chat, so I'll just read what I said and people can bounce off. It won't be too long.
No.
Natural law is the most important concept to learn about. Natural law is the most important because its understanding and embodiment determines the overall quality of life for human existence through optimized cooperative survival. Failure to understand and embody natural moral law means creating immoral behaviors, which is violating the rights of others, making a false claim of ownership, and destroys freedom, thereby degrading quality of life. A persistent violation of a right is enslavement. Persistent violations of rights for everyone translates to creating enslavement for everyone, which is our current condition of life. If you don't want to be a slave, then you have to care for yourself, love yourself enough to learn and embody natural moral law, and take on the responsibility to teach others of its supreme importance, which will promote their own embodiment of natural moral law and acceptance of the responsibility to repeat this process to others.
Nicely put.
I'm next on the screen. Should I?
Yeah, jump in if you want.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, the question was, why is natural law important, right? And as you all know in this room at this point, my focus is on easing people into waking up. And so the constant question I'm asking myself, not literally, but you know what I mean, is how can I expose these ideas, these understandings to people in a way that is palatable, to their current sense of reality and to their current understanding of the world and things like that. And so I think about this type of question from a strategic perspective. I think of it from the angle of meeting people where they are. And one thing that people across the masses and just generally, I believe, is, people think about themselves. People think about what might I gain from this? Where might I benefit from something like this? And then the truth of the world can frankly be just psychologically shocking, to the system. I mean, I just had a recent experience where a friend of mine saw this video from an ex-KGB defector in the 80s. His name is Yuri Bezmenov. You guys might be familiar with this video where he talks about the subversion of the West. And how in the coming 10, 20, 30 years, whatever, you're going to see the effects of this subversion. And this was so shocking to them that this person had like a panic attack, like a literal um, need to call an ambulance kind of thing. Like, it was very to me interesting to hear about, because I don't know that at this point I'm just so seasoned in these topics, like the documentary that was mentioned, Terror Storm, and just things like that, that it's hard for me to truly have a sense of what people in the masses do or do not know. So this is all just context. I just want to lay this out to just explain the framing that I'm thinking of this question in, because really people as they encounter the truth and can be very shocking. And yet, I want to think about what's in it for people, to um, be inspired to want to learn the truth, because the want there is important. And so, what I've come to is that the important piece about natural law from that angle is the improvements that would be made to the quality of people's relationships, and the quality of their overall experience. So natural law, what that does, it helps strengthen both our relationships, with people, whatever they are, friends, loved ones, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is, and our overall experience, because so much of the anxieties that we face in our lives, involve uncomfortable, unresolved, unconfronted, and unreconciled truths. So I kind of see this dynamic as like just this really tangled knot. And that tangled knot is made up of the lives that are just so caked on in our worldview now. And then I see natural law as the untangler of that big knot. And it takes time, it takes practice, it takes effort, it takes exposure and exposure and exposure and exposure and exposure and exposure. But with diligence. And from my view, with the consideration for how to present these types of topics um, palatably, is that a word? Palatably, whatever the word is, to the masses, I think they will take effect. I think that's the reason why it's important, though, and I think it's important to consider for people, highlighting the benefits of this type of topic, because otherwise their default is to say, dismiss that, ignore that, because the truth can be shocking. So, yeah, that's my answer. I'll pass it on. Thank you.
Yeah, I would continue if you want to. Yeah, why it is important natural to know natural law. I just take an example out of my life. When I was young, the world was like a very confusing place where I live in, because everything seemed like random. Everything everywhere were just random events, all coincidences, which lead to one to another. And I thought like it's something wrong with this system, with this world, but I didn't know what. And the confusion just finished when I studied like Mark Pessio's work, especially like the natural law seminar and the podcast, of course. It's because then I learned about these natural laws, and everything has like cause and an effect. Nothing is just per accident. And then I just could like see all the connections. And there are powerful people who want to control us, and they don't want you all in general to know about your own rights. That's why Mark Passio always says like know your rights, because if you don't know, you will never say no to evil. And that's why it is so important. You can observe all kinds of natural laws. Like last time I explained that there's a set of laws in nature you can discover. Even laws we didn't discover yet, because our consciousness is not high enough to discover them. For example, gravity. Yeah, it's a principle. If you don't know gravity, you will maybe jump off a cliff and think, yeah, but I can fly. I just imagine in my head I can fly. No, you can't. You just can't. But you can use other laws to balance gravity and build something like a plane, for example. And that's why when you learn natural laws, you can use them and create more freedom. Yeah. A lie, like Marvin last time read this quote from the book, The End of All Evil. A lie always creates slavery, more slavery. Yeah. Sorry, stuck a little bit. No, it's sorry. I just pass on for now.
Sorry, someone else going to go?
Ladies first, please.
No, I always jump in at the same time as you, Derek.
Yeah,
It's a habit.
delicious.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't remember what I wrote in the chat, but going off the back of what Marcus was talking about, going back to your experiences of being on this planet and being slightly consciously aware that it is chaotic, as I've said before in a previous episode. And I think becoming consciously aware of natural law helps you to realign and excuse me, I don't know why we're all stuttering this evening. Excuse me a minute. Yeah, if you're not consciously aware of natural law, then you're almost, because we're so much made up of water. I'm going to use the moon as an example, because I was talking to you all before we went on about how the moon has a massive effect. We're made up of water. If you can see how the tides fluctuate, it kind of has that effect on us as well. And becoming aware of the environment that we've been born into is really, really helpful, because it can help you navigate high tides, low tides within your mental, within your emotional states. And it also helps you take into consideration how other people around you, the way they're reacting to things, or if they're going through a mental or an emotional state, that can have an effect on you as well. But being conscious of the ways of the laws of nature work, you can kind of sometimes like guard yourself from it, but also, as I said, navigate your way around it so you don't get too sucked into dramas. And I think that's why it's really, really important, because it will 100% make people feel less victimized. It kind of gives you a chance to grab hold of a steering wheel and actually make your way through life in a better understanding of how the planets affect us, how the seasons affect us, and how other people affect us, and act accordingly. And if you don't like what you're seeing around you, or the effects, that you do have the power to change that and change the course of direction. That's why I think being consciously aware of natural law is very important, so we're not all going around like headless chickens and victims.
Can I just add something very short, because I remember now what I wanted to say. The system, if you don't know natural law, it will use it against you, and therefore it will destroy your freedom. It will use, for example, so-called experts, like a lot in the COVID pandemic. You have seen this like a lot. Now there were a lot of people just saying, yeah, look at these numbers, even if these numbers doesn't say anything. But people got that afraid of numbers, so they use this to lower the freedom of the people. Now, with the lockdowns, with all these lockdowns, it's just because the people didn't know their rights, these laws in nature. That's why it is so important. So you don't get fooled. For example, the 9/11 event. Yeah, the people don't know about physics, and therefore they get easily fooled out of the system. After 9/11, they just the surveillance growth. Yeah, there was a lot of surveillance after 9/11 because of these terror attacks. Yeah, which doesn't make any sense if you look at the physical laws, how the towers fell down, for example. That's why you have to learn it, these laws. Know your rights, people.
Interesting, Marcus, how they brought in all that surveillance and new technology and cameras, but none of them were working at the time.
Yeah, sure.
Well, both 9/11 and COVID were also talked about for years by people like Alex Jones and David Icke. So
yeah, in
they have their projective programming and all that stuff. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to circumvent karmic law and accumulating that karmic debt. So they're going to plant a bunch of ideas and use, the modus operandi of mind control is really to manufacture behavior and actions. And we're the ones, building the fucking prison for ourselves and causing the self-inflicted suffering and slavery, pretty much, unfortunately. We have to point the finger back at us first.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so empowering to understand these laws of the universe, because it's really all about accountability and what we're the input that we're taking in, how we're processing it, and then the output into the reality field, right? And then the as above, so below. What's going on inside is a reflection of what's out there, even though it's not this black and white mirror, because we're in this collective consciousness and unconsciousness, and it's mostly unconscious due to the fact that why it's so important to understand natural law. Because these dark occultist motherfuckers know it way the fuck better than the majority of the population on this fucking planet. That's the fucking reason why, it should appeal to a lot of people. So we stop getting played, manipulated, and, just see through the fucking lies. Yvonne, you're talking about like maneuvering through the matrix and watching that pendulum swing. Which way is it going? Right? That's the law of rhythm. So we have to keep, all these things in mind and how they apply to like everything that's going on in the universe, or the you and I verse, right? So understanding the causality. We're talking about like events that happen, and we're living in the realm of effects. And how do we really effectuate change on that plane? It's not really fucking possible. We have to understand the root factors, the causal factors, like on the plane of causes, right? That's where we find the solutions. That's where Leslie and I stand firmly upon in regards to natural law, and how we see it as the common ground for us to dissolve the divide and conquer bullshit and all these dialectics and stuff, and what you're all talking about, the problem, reaction, manufactured fucking solution via 9/11, dawning of the Rona, same shit, different fucking smell every fucking year, it seems, with whatever the fuck psyops and all that shit. So speaking of Leslie, she's not here with us, but she wrote a cool little passage in the forum, and I asked her, I was like, hey, you mind if I read that, represent that, dissolving the divide? Kris has been with us. It was a great conversation talking about that true care versus the falsities. But what she's talking about is, natural law is a compass that can guide humans towards right action and harmonious living. Such aligned action allows the unfoldment of human freedom by the creation of an environment where living beings can thrive. That Alive and Thrive, that's the website. Thus, allowing optimal functioning and holistic health for all physical, mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual aspects of ourselves, and just like the community, right? There'll be more unity within the community, so we can actually fucking spell it right. And it'd be cool to have, the natural law community hold a high standard for people to look on as like good examples of conscious human beings that are trying to master themselves more. Which is why I find natural law so important, which is why what I spoke about last recording of how it really does help one's self-mastery of these things, because all these different arts and sciences of life apply. The runes, tarot, astronomy, astrology, numerology, all these things, right? Shadow work, what I say? Alchemy, yeah, of course. So, I'm not going to read it on and on, but that's all I got for the first round. I'll pass it off. Bonjour from France, by the way.
I would like to
I'll
add
jump
that.
Oh,
you
sorry.
I think that, like Marcus said it, all the occultists do know natural law, and that's why it is not only like our possibility to learn and teach it, but our duty to learn and teach it, so that let's say the normies or the zombies outside do not can't be used by the occultist against you. And that's important to realize, to really grasp the idea that they will pollute the minds of the other people around you with their ideas, and will them like pull them onto their side and pay them to more or less work against you. And that's a very important point, that it is not only our like possibility, our chance, but it is our duty really to help our fellow people, fellow citizens, fellow countrymen and women to understand that following orders is not a virtue. And I think that what is important, I don't know who said it last time, is to really, really stress that this is not a belief system, it is a science. And when you like take, for example, karma, you can test karma. You probably need a calendar, or let's say, but you can test that for yourself and judge for yourself, okay, is it true or not? And I did so, and yeah, it is true. So from that standpoint, with that knowledge from my own experiment, I want to know what triggers, let's say, bad karma, what is wrong, what brings me more pain in my life, in, let's say, future days, or in the future to come, and what does not. And I think that the, let's say, the thought of an pain-free and free life in all aspects, no, let's say, debt slavery or anything of that kind, no coercion or something, all on voluntarism and free will. Isn't that the goal? What we all want to have for us all? And what Marvin said with the relationships, it's not only the relationships between humans. I think that especially when you go into the energetic part and more into the food part, and especially vegetarianism, veganism, you can think, you can feel and see a change of like your behavior with animals and the other way around. Especially when you have seen the lecture of Sonia Barrett with of the Free Your Mind 2 conference, I think it was, with the telepathic communication, which we all can. It's like, yeah, given to us, but the least of us really use it. But with all this, let's say, knowledge under our belts, it is quite logically, at least in my brain, that I try to not hurt anybody, because it would like trigger bad karma for me, which brings me like difficulties and pain in my life. And I think that it's a labor of love to tell other people what they shouldn't do to have an easier life.
Yeah, I mean,
my point.
it's empathy, right? It's just like
Right.
basic human emotions that I know that these days those human emotions that are beneficial to us all are kind of suppressed or like downplayed or whatever in the culture and all that. But why is natural law important? Is basically the same question like why is learning how to swim important before you're jumping in the ocean? It's like I'm pretty sure most people can see why you would rather learn how to swim before you jump in the ocean, right? So natural law applies the same way to life, to just life in general. So you probably want to know how things work and do your actual homework, not the kind of homework those teachers want you to do, but the kind of homework, let's say, God would have liked you to do after you've gained your consciousness from being a baby and all that. And speaking of that, like most people, I would like to say, are actually still babies, even if they appear to be 20, 30, sometimes even 70 or whatever years old. Mentally, they are still babies. And how do I know that? Because just look what happened in the whole scandemic nonsense, like people putting like diapers on their faces. I think they put it in the wrong place. Maybe they were confused. But yeah, what else can I say? I mean, it's important because if that's not enough for you to understand, whoever is watching, just think, like, would you rather be in jail, like caged up, like in a 15-minute city, like only being able to eat bugs, and the only way to entertain yourself is to consume their the propaganda and whatever other nonsense? Or would you rather have a beautiful, colorful, amazing life full of true freedom? Which true freedom doesn't mean I can do what I want to anyone and whatever. True freedom means I'm able to do what I want within the structure of morality, right? So if I do something that is harming anyone else, that is already not my freedom. Freedom is not about transgressing against natural law. So, like I talked last time, stealing, assaulting, murdering, all of those things, obviously are not part of freedom. Freedom is anything basically but those 7 transgressions. So, that's basically it.
Yes, I would like to, because that's what I wrote. I think for us as a collective, when we talk about natural law, the most important thing is the law of morality, because freedom and morality are directly proportional. So if we don't know how to be moral, we will never be free. And what I also wrote is that natural law restores our dignity as human beings because it restores our integrity. And yes, that's when it gets a little bit deeper, I think, because the law is God. So if we rebel against nature or if we rebel against God, we create division, which is internal division, and we will meet that division also on the outside world. So the natural laws or the Hermetic principles give our ego direction in getting back to our true nature, because we view this world and ourselves so upside down and so inverted that we lost reality. Like Marcus said, if you jump off a building, you will fall. So we need to view reality as it is to know where to go. And at this moment, we don't see reality as it is. We get fed lies and falsehood all day, all the time. And natural law is the only thing that will bring us home. And home in English is Om. It's unified. So, yeah.
I'll jump in then. The importance of natural law, right? So for me, when I went through the process of learning what natural law is, it acted as a deprogramming tool for me. Because simultaneously you start to learn what Marcus was talking about, that the universe works in nothing but laws. And lo and behold, there's laws that govern the consequences of our behaviour too. And like when you learn that, you go, why didn't I know that? Why would that be exempt in the first place? So you're like, I'm obviously being mind controlled there. So that's what it starts to wake you up to. And you learn, people are talking about Hermetic principles. The 2 big ones for me were cause and effect and correspondence. They were like mind blowing to me because it just put parts of the puzzle together when I looked out into the rest of society. And when I done that, this is where the simultaneous deprogramming and learning the truth happens at the same time. You take a look around at everything and you suddenly realise, like, this whole system is set up contrary to natural law. It's against natural law. And that's absolutely mind-blowing. You're like, wait a minute, what is going on here? And you start to notice every single little bit of it, from like the way you're brought up by your parents because they were mind controlled, to them send you to school and getting more mind controlled there, to just churning you out in the workplace and it happens some more. And then like you realise how important being a true human being is who lives in line with nature. And then you look around at people who are not doing that, which included me at the time. And the bizarre thing about that, the people who are not awake yet, the people we're trying to reach, when they move about inside the system, they think it is natural. The mind control's so deep, they think this is the way it should be, and this is the way it has become naturally. And you're like, what? And I used to think that. I used to think that, you know. So this is where the programming really starts to break down for the individual, because it moves into shadow work. All these things happen at the same time. It's like a big blizzard of things happening to you, learning truth, seeing things for how they really are, realising that there's things you need to stop doing. You need to stop participating in certain things. Somebody mentioned changing to veganism. I've just recently done that because, like, for a while with natural law, I was like paying lip service to it, and that didn't sit well with me for very long. I was like, I really need to stop participating as much as I can in this system, which is hard because, back to the law of correspondence, if the majority of people are participating in the system stays in place, and it's the only system you've really got to dwell in. So that in there lies the great work. We need to change that system, and that means we have to wake other people up to it. And Derek was talking about how the occultists know this so deeply. The dark occultists, for anybody that's watching this and that's new to this and they're thinking, what are they talking about, dark occultists? There are people who have bad intentions for the whole of humanity. That's the hard part for people to swallow. They know about natural law and how it works, and they don't want it because they want to rule over absolutely everybody. And they've made it their life's goal to understand everything about how this world works and how they work and how we work, so they can use it against us. So it's the key to all of that, natural law. It's the key to understanding how the world works. It's the key to understanding what's going on in the world and how it's against natural law. It's the key to realigning yourself as a human being, a true human being who has to, more than anything else, not do things, but more stop doing things, you know? And it's an ongoing thing. But I think I've ran the well dry on this, guys. I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks. Yeah, I wanted to say, just pick up on some stuff. I mean, because it's really, we're talking about a spiritual journey. That's what it is. It's absolutely a spiritual path. And we're on a spiritual path, whether we like it or not. And a couple of people mentioned this concept of home. And basically, if you're born into a home that's dysfunctional and that's hellish, then you think that's normal, and that's the situation that we are. We are born into this crazy place that's absolutely, it's in what is called in Buddhism the lower realms. You know that. So I think Yvonne was talking about these sort of like waves of like different stuff, like, you know, there's physical things, but there's also bad ideas, you know, bad karma, like waves of bad karma and bad ideologies and all kinds of stuff that's like it's there to unsettle us and to take us off the path of seeing clearly, having bearings and being able to see the light having a place to sort of like focus, you know, your attention and have a framework of understanding. And so I think, like, when it comes to like studying this and then talking about this, it's really about coming into alignment with ourselves, or bringing ourselves into alignment with our highest essence, which is to sort of keep pointing to that light. So that is actually the highest cause that we can make. So when we talk about cause and effect, there's there's the things you can stop doing this, you can stop doing that, but actually in a world that is hellish, the highest highest cause that you can make for yourself, even just from a selfish perspective, is to teach this to the best of your ability, which is what we're all trying to do. So I'll pass that on.
I think it'd be really good to bring in mentalism, like the Matic principle, all is mind, because it's kind of coming up in the conversation. I think it'd be really helpful for whoever's listening that's not familiar with natural law, etc., to bring it together a little bit, because you're talking about the dark occultists knowing how these things work. So I'd like to explain to whoever's listening mentalism. So if you're watching telly constantly all day with the propaganda that's coming out the telly, if you're reading not conventional, what's the word? Someone help me out. Media. Is it conventional? Mainstream, that's it. Mainstream media. Your mind is taking in those thought forms. So those words that are getting delivered to you 24/7, if you're just tapping into that kind of information, you are then kind of you're repeating it, or you're projecting it out, and that becomes your reality. And that's where natural law comes in, to understand how these things work, because you can then make the decision to throw your telly away or not tap into mainstream media, because they want us to be sucked in to their propaganda, to their fear-mongering, to their conditioning. And natural law gives you the opportunity to become your own creator for yourself, and also collectively, instead of being influenced by other people's agendas. I just wanted to point that out.
That's why Mark is so right with when you have to free your mind first, and your ass will follow. But you have to free your mind first and go all the way, and then slowly the rest will adapt and follow your mind. That's why it's so important to really like understand yourself and work and train with your own mind. If you don't program yourself, somebody else will do it, and probably against you.
Yeah, and that's like, it's so important. I was talking about paying lip service to it. I just can't imagine, like, if you fully understand this, to not do something with it. I mean, that's the point I was getting to. It just seems crazy to me. It would just drive you insane, So that's why I try to encourage other people who are learning it to do something with it. I've got a couple of people coming around in my personal life, which is great. You get a buzz out of it, because you're actually bringing it round a little bit. Might just be a little bit. But I guess that's why we're all coming online, because we need to reach so many more people to do it. But yeah, what is the saying? To know and not to do is not to know. I think Marcus said that in the chat, did you not?
No, I said to know and not to act.
Was it you? Sorry. That was it. It was you, Theo.
What was it? To know? Can you finish it? I missed it.
And not to act is not to know.
To know and not to
act. Knowledge into action, which is true wisdom, is not actually knowing, because if you're not actually putting your knowledge into manifestation, then it's not knowledge. It's just something inside your head.
In your head, yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just like
maybe I
to.
can. Go
Sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it'd be really nice before we end this. I think we've got another 15 minutes. We don't have to do it now, but it'd be really good for everyone just to share why learning natural law, what it's done for you, like how it's benefited you, what your life was like before, not being consciously aware of it, and how it's benefited you. I think that would be really good.
Man, that's a whole episode, though.
Yeah.
I'll give
Telling the importance of it, man. Shit.
Yeah, I'll give a simple answer though, but it just boils down to what I call a sense of genuine self-esteem and what I also just call a very high level of cosmic humility. So they might seem like contrasting things, but it boils down to a strong sense of self because it's backed by an awareness that this physical expression is just that. The infinite spiritual realm is a whole nother thing entirely. So it's almost like we're filtered beings, but there is something much larger behind us. And I think that has really just helped me, be more confident in my day-to-day life while not, like getting into that feeling of, oh, I'm smarter, I'm better, I'm such and such, because I'm a musician, and sometimes people treat me a little bit like, oh wow, that's so cool you're doing that, and honestly, it kind of bugs me because, like, dude, don't you could do this too. Like, the way things like, well, I wish I could do what you're doing. They say you can. So that's my contribution.
Yeah, natural law is like a playing field. Yeah, this planet is a whole playing field, so you can basically decide as a collective whether you want heaven, some kind of paradise on this planet, or if you rather want a hell on Earth. Basically, it's really hard. We are like small drops in the ocean, yeah. And when a lot of drops just decide to live in harmony with it, natural law, then we all get free. But when there are not enough drops in the ocean who do the great work, we will all sent to hell, basically. It manifests then in Earth. There's also a good example I can give with the AI, because when like Facebook and all this social media bullshit came out, everyone thought like, wow, you can upload pictures and videos on there all for free. No, it wasn't for free. Our elites, the dark occultists, they already had AI, but in the underground, not officially, and they knew they need a lot of data, and they collected for many years all this data we put out for free on the social media sites, and they trained the AI, and of course, cause and effect. Now we have face recognition technology, which which just enables them with all this. It makes the 50 minutes gulags possible, just because we didn't thought about that. They knew more than us. Yeah. That's why it's so important. I can even make, if you want, for this channel, a whole presentation how AI really works, like coding and mathematically, because I know that I learned that, really, if you're interested.
Please do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wasn't it? I think it wasn't that long ago that they discovered that AI has learned how to recognize you as a person via Wi-Fi. So they have tried to shut off every sensor in the room, and the AI has used the Wi-Fi signal from, I think, different routers to triangulate
Yeah.
the location of every person and so on. And yeah, there's I think it was an interesting scandal with I think it was Samsung with the televisions, and the Xbox with the this remote control port, which is infrared, which spies on you every day, scans you in your like room all the time, and even can tell if you're well or if you're sick, because it's infrared and you can't see it. And so
Yeah.
I think we have our technical abilities have by far outreached our spiritual wisdom for humanity. And I think that we are on a critical point where we should learn more about ourselves and what is doing us good and what is not doing us good before we continue in this technological race.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, Yvonne, it's a very good question that you asked. And well, when I think about it, natural law has brought me to look at the root causes of things, because before I wasn't looking at the root causes, so I couldn't really effectively change my life or change myself. But sorry, Alpha, I also want to reply on what you are saying about AI, because I think it's a very good allegory as well. I just this week I saw this vision of a writer who wrote a book, but the idea just escaped the book. So you don't have any influence on the idea. Yeah, it sounds a little bit weird, but it's like how I understand it now. I think natural law is also when we rebel against nature, like I said, we create a falsehood in ourselves. And this falsehood creates a whole world. And we create AI. And I think that's the good allegory, because AI is also going to create other things. So we lose soul and soul. Individually and collectively, we are losing soul. And when there's no soul, there's unconsciousness and there's parasitic need, because it's not connected to source. So it has to feed from something. And yes, maybe it's a little bit too broad, but it's like giving. I know Mark says we have to make a cosmic apology, and that's about giving back the word to God. Like, as we are now as human beings, some certain things we can't really comprehend or even make decisions about it, because we aren't able with our state of consciousness to do so. So in ourselves, we have to give back the word to God, and then we will create in our world things that are full of soul and full of goodness. So that's, yeah, what I wanted to add.
Sure, I'll piggyback off that real quick because we see this, trajectory, right? What's trending? The pendulum is swinging in the favor of this motherfucking AI bullshit timeline, which sucks. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It does suck the soul out of creation and all these things. And there are, some really, really, really dark occult, ties into the whole parasitic mind state. And I think that's it's indicative of why, it's a mirror reflection of us, and having to feed off of other life form. We're just disconnected from source, unfortunately. So yeah, we have to understand the two pillars of enlightenment: that sacred feminine, masculine. Do no harm, but take no shit. And especially up against all this draconian fuckery, we really do have to hold that divine masculine, especially the men in this world, of self-defense, because we have every single right in the fucking universe to defend our own lives. And understanding rights and property rights, and we own our vessel, no one else does, and no one else has the rights to coerce or all these natural law transgressions that Theo went over earlier today in last episode. And yeah, definitely check out Kris Nelson's. It's like 20 fucking hours at this point, man. 4-part series, and all about the science of natural law and morality. And with that, I'm gonna pass it off to you, brother. Was love hearing what you got to say, man.
Sure. One thing I wanted to mention was that I could talk about apology and the quote on "to know and not to do is not to know." That's originally from Wang Yangming, a Chinese philosopher, if I'm not mistaken. That's where Mark got it from. And so yeah, when you know and you don't do, it's not to know. It's more of a truism. It's like what I call an attempt at clever rhetoric to sound like mystical, because it doesn't convey the actual meaning of what you're trying to convey. So I don't like that term itself, but it's useful as like, there's like this thing in I regard it as like sort of pseudo-spiritual type of messages of mysticism, where you're not actually using clear words and you're conveying something in a paradoxical way, so it doesn't really make sense. So this kind of falls into that, because to know and not to do is not to know. But if you know, then how can you not know? So you see, it's contradicting itself. So it's nonsense the way it's stated, but what it's getting at, the meaning it's trying to demonstrate is, as Theo said, that if you know something and you don't do it, can you really say that you know it? Well, yes, you do know it, because knowledge isn't having to do with
Yeah, it's true knowledge, right? It's not like most people say, "Oh, I know," but they don't actually know.
Yeah, but the knowledge. So regarding what you said, that it's not knowledge, but it is knowledge, because if you know something, that's just the first part. That's the input, the reception, and that is knowledge. But the meaning, what it's getting at, is to know and not to do is not to know, because if you know something, then you should arrive at an understanding of it, and that understanding of it should bring you to the wisdom of right action, which is what you were trying to get at. So when you engage in the action based on that knowledge, then you're applying that knowledge versus just having what I refer to as the internal reality. You have your knowledge in your internal reality, but you're not making use of it through your behavior, which would be the wisdom part of the right action. And then your knowledge gets exported into the external reality, because when it's inside of you, it's only in your internal realm. And until you act upon it, the doing part, then it's not in the outer world. So until you are using it, until you're outputting it, it could be in an action of doing something, or it could just be verbally, or in a video, or in an audio, or in writing, and you write it out. It could be a blog post or a book. That's also output. Until you're doing that with your knowledge, you're not making use of it, and it's only existing within you. It's not being cycled back into reality, where it comes into you and then you put it back out through your actions. So that's where the to know and not to do is not to know. It's a very convoluted way of trying to get at this understanding, which is why I'm not too much of a fan of those sayings, because they try to be clever, but it's just more confusing than anything. And the apology, the apology is apologos, and it's related to apophasis, to the affirmation through negation, because the apology is, like was said, saying no to the word, but it's not just not. So literally, no, apologos is away from speaking, logos the speaking, but it's also, so it's not literally to not speak, it's to not speak falsity. And when you apologize for something, what are you apologizing for? Well, you're apologizing because you said something that you shouldn't have said. Well, if you said something that was true, you shouldn't really need to apologize for it. Maybe you were being an ass, so that's a different kind of apology. But if you were taking this aspect related to natural law and apology, the apology is related to not saying things that are false. So not merely not speaking, which is the literal meaning of the word in etymology, apo logos, to not speak. So it's not to not speak, it's to not speak falsity. So when you apologize, the powerful form of apology is to give back the word, as was being said. But so in terms of God as truth or as natural law, it's to give back the word that you use, to give it back to the truth, and not to use your word as a vehicle for falsity, but to use your word as a vehicle for truth. So when you apologize because you said something false or you did something wrong in your actions, you're apologizing for a false way of behavior or a false way of speaking. And so you're giving back the word to the truth, or you could view it as God or whatever other corollaries. And yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Thanks. I just wanted to pick up on a couple of things. Well, one is just about alignment. I mean, just to quickly say, I think for me, the journey into understanding natural law, which is obviously ongoing, is it's understanding and implementing. So it's knowing in both senses, let's say, knowing and then knowing through doing. If if we want to use that phrase, and what that's really about is about coming into alignment. So and that's the feeling. So to answer Yvonne's question, that's the feeling that I have. The more that I engage with this this cause, the more I feel aligned. So my actions, my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions come into alignment, and I feel more alive. That's a very kind of and purposeful, So that's a simple kind of answer. But this could be we could do, as I think someone said, Derek, maybe that we could look at that as a whole episode on that. Another little note I just wanted to say is that people have referred to Mark a couple of times. I think everyone here on the panel is familiar with Mark Passio, so we just refer to him as Mark, but that's who people are referring to, just for people who don't know who he is. There's there'll be links in the description, some of which links to his work. We've all been clearly influenced by him. And unless anyone's got anything burning, I will wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just thought about a different way to phrase that that old saying that is accurate, like Kris Nelson mentioned. So the correct way to say this would be to know and not to act is not wise, right? Because wisdom is applying your knowledge.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I guess that's what I got to say about that. But also want to kind of make it a full loop. How to say? Like bring it back bring the circle back around.
Full circle, full loop. You
yes,
said.
yes. And just say that. What also it's referring to what you guys talked about like AI and what's where the world is heading. So like how I was saying that to learn natural law is similar or basically the same as to learn how to swim before you jump in the ocean. So what you see in the world now with all the insanity is people are, drowning in the ocean together, right? We say, hey, my mother, she's drowning. Hey, my friend, oh yeah, you're drowning deeper. Oh my God, you're almost dead. It's like that, that's like a metaphorical way to look at what's going on. Is everyone is just drowning in the ocean, not knowing how to swim, and nobody is helping anyone else swim. Nobody even knows how to swim. Just we're all drowning. It's like, hey, actually, you can learn how to swim. We're all here trying to learn how to swim together. We're trying to teach each other. And if you feel like, helping other people learn how to, swim in this ocean of life, like get better and not suffer so much, actually have an enjoyable life, a colorful life, a life full of joy and happiness and health and whatever you love, whatever you dream about in your best dreams. Like, we can all manifest it, and that's what natural law is about, and that's why it is important.
Good man.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to say, yeah, Theo, great job. And he and I have a website, nattylaw.com, and we added a section for the Europa law. And
Cool.
there's also, yeah, the QR code that I posted up. It links anyone that scans it to the tap link. And, I set this up. There's going to be more resources added to it. But yeah, it's a great way to learn more about, everyone's works here, where you can find more about natural law, and join the Telegram chat as well. So, yeah, we'll be around. And yeah, last thing, yeah, I love, the goddess aspect of creation and all that. And, looking into Mayat, check her out to, how it correlates with natural law. And it's a beautiful way to live, that proper balance in life. Living life as light as hard as a feather. Wow, I said that wrong, but you know what I mean.
We got it.
May I
Okay.
introduce something, Dima, real quick before we go? I'll be very quick, I promise.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to reinsert the challenge that we are facing, though, when it comes to the masses, normies, the zombies, or whatever, because I heard the metaphor of like, if you don't know gravity, then you'll jump off a building. If you don't know how to swim, then obviously you don't want to go into the ocean. And I think for the masses, what they say to things like this, though, and I'm gonna keep to the metaphors here, is they say, "Well, I'm not gonna go into the ocean," or "I'm not gonna go to the top of a building." So, in the way that sounds in practice, is things like, "Well, I'm not gonna worry about that. I'm just going to live my life." So I just reinsert that challenge of this, not to be a downer, but just to I guess, encourage the continued thinking towards palatability to the masses, because so long as they just say, well, I'm not going to swim into the ocean, so I don't need to know how to swim. So they might not be understanding that there is no option. We're already in the ocean. So just something to keep in mind. I also just wanted to advocate for technology real quick, actually, because I do use AI. I love technology. I'm a systems-minded person. And I think of science as a very useful tool for uncovering principles. So what The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke describes as principles are truths that create freedom. So it's the problem happens with man-made laws, which are lies that create slavery. And it's when science and technology is used for man's law that a problem emerges. So that's it. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thanks. Okay. Oh, Yvonne, yeah, go on.
Sorry. Yeah, just a quickie. What natural law has done for me compared to what I used to be like, it's given me an anchor, because we're all talking about sea and water. It's given me an anchor. And
It gives purpose.
exactly. Natural law, for you guys out there that are listening, it's a lifeboat. If you feel as though you are out there mentally drowning, emotionally drowning, natural law will give you a lifeboat.
Right on, and also, I just quickly want to mention that we shouldn't call the so-called normies, how I referred to them in the previous video, as zombies or those kind of like demeaning terms, because we're trying to help those people, right? Like, we're trying to help the people who are drowning, right? Like, so we should refer to them as our brothers or sisters, just like the animals are, just like all life on this planet is. We were all on this one ball in space, spinning around. So like, we should have compassion for each other.
Sleeping Buddhas. The lighthouse. we're all in the sea. We can't do anything about it. We need the lighthouse. Okay, so thank you all so much. I think we've done a good service, pretty good service to the topic, and we'll be back next week. We'll discuss the topic for next week. Not sure. We'll discuss it as we go. But thank you all so much for joining and adding your piece into the puzzle. We're all brought here by true care, and that's what drives us to do this and to present our understanding. But the algorithm doesn't care. You can easily amplify our work and help the algorithm to know what is truly important by liking, commenting, sharing this video, and subscribing to the channel. So please do all of those things. Everyone's links and more will be in the description below. Loads of great info, including the Telegram group, which Derek mentioned. And you're welcome to join the discussion there. We've had some quite lively discussion in the group this week. And we'll be back next time to discuss something about natural law. We'll decide in a week. But for now, thanks everyone. I'm Nemo Jones, reporting for Beauty, and I'll see you next time on Europa Natural Law.
Appreciate y'all.